Welcome, welcome, my friends, to another edition of More Bad News, brought to you, as always, by Camel Cigarettes. Take the Camel's Challenge, smoke Camels for 30 days, and see for yourself what a difference Camels can make in your life. I used to remind my students that tobacco was sacred to most native tribes. They all recognized the spiritual power of tobacco and included it in their ceremonies in much the same way as Jews include wine and candles in our ceremonies. The Europeans took this sacred plant and turned it into an instrument of death. Tobacco didn't cause cancer among native peoples. It was the white man who turned this blessing into a curse. And that's just what white men do. Uh, Speaking of censorship, I'm planning on copying all my YouTube videos to Odyssey. That's Odyssee. My channel will be called More Bad News, one word. Okay, it's nice to have a new platform, although it has some problems, and I'm just trying to navigate my way into it. But I'm hoping at least to have it as a backup, and I can copy all of my YouTube um, channel to it, and hopefully, if it works out, that could become my primary channel. Every time I turn around, I find myself with a new AI assistant helping me with my struggles to exist. The latest one is attached to the Word program. I didn't ask for it. It just, it just appears. So at this point, I could put Chat GPT to work producing my show and it would carry on long after I'm dead and buried. You'd hardly notice. I, for one, recommend surrendering to the algorithm. It's like the Borg and the Dalek. Resistance is futile, and their only command is to exterminate. Speaking of which, I want to give a shout out to Brian Alexander. He's been a regular listener and comments on the show often. I just realized who he is, and I got a copy of his great book, The New Digital Storytelling. It's amazing. I finally, found his channel, Future Trends Forum. And this is the last one. He had one on Chat GPT and another one on student health, mental health today, and absolutely fascinating, wonderful channel. Thank you, Brian. It was amazing that it took me this long to actually figure, well, who is this person? Um, but the, what uh, two of my favorite listeners have the most awesome beards. Is what really floors me. I'm so in awe of such beards. I grew up in a world where a man without a beard was a boy. I grew up in a culture where a beard was a symbol of wisdom and strength. I grew up in a culture that saw beardless faces as naked. All my life, I had to look out on an ocean of naked flesh. Well, women have to hide their breasts, but men can walk around with naked faces. Where are the Taliban when you really need them? Anyway, and I've never been able to grow a decent beard. It's always, it just goes wild. I can't keep my hands off of it anyway. So, I'm in awe of really wonderful beards, and Brian and David have the most awesome beards. Yeah, anyway, so that be that here nor there. Well, my friends, it's been another couple of weeks of very bad news. It seems like we're living on another planet. Remember when Paradise, California, a town of 15,000, disappeared in a single fire event, and now we have this happening to LA. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. So we have horrible fires in LA, a massive assault about to be launched against innocent people in our own country, wars raging in the Sudan, the Middle East, and Ukraine. And as I like to remind myself, there are at least 36 million children under the age of 5 who are acutely malnourished and not expected to survive the next 5 years. Those children don't care who is president. But for our undocumented working class, it means the beginning of a reign of terror that can only be compared to the Nazis, to how the Nazis began their campaign against Jews in Germany. The first they rounded up and deported the undocumented Jews. But we look on the bright side. Our politics and culture have been dominated for over a decade now by a man who is uh, as repulsive as a human being can possibly be, far more repulsive than Adolf Hitler. Hitler loved dogs. He was a vegetarian and a non-smoker. He didn't rape women. But above all, what we have here is someone who destroys everything that he touches. So imagine how the next 5 years are going to go. I I found was reminded this week of this book, Friendly Fascism. It's from the 70s, I think. Let's see what I haven't looked at it in a long time. Um, it's uh, published in 1980. All right, very great book. I mean, the new face of power in America, and he says that the point was that an American fascist will be an American fascist. It won't be, like a fascist, any other fascist. It'll be uniquely American. And that's what we have is this is uniquely American. It is um, uh, uh, heart-wrenching and repulsive. This is the uh, fascist leader that we end up with. Could have had Putin. I mean, guy, has at least a nice body, rides on a horse. I don't know. Anyway, I'll leave it to my AI assistant to explain how that's the bright side of things. But it seems to me that from the perspective of the acutely malnourished, our politics must seem amusing. Um, my point is that no one is going to get out of this alive, and we're all going to suffer regardless of your current state of privilege. If the fires and floods don't get you, the disease will, and if the disease doesn't get you, the violence will. Not only is there no escape from death, but there is no escape from the suffering ahead. Oh, happy birthday to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Um, God, what's happened to that dream? He could see the promised land. He was at the top of the mountain, and he could see the promised land. He could see that where we were going, it would be a world of equality and justice, where no one would be judged by the color of their skin or the nature of their documentation. My friends, these are the end times, and there will be no redemption, and God will not triumph. Evil will triumph. As we approach our terminus, we will abandon all pretense to humanity. The 36 million starving children will become 360 million, and the earth will cry up to God for justice. And in our extinction, we will finally be requited. Regardless of your current age, whether you're 5 years old or 65 years old, you are now in your 80s. I have many friends in their 80s. My friend Frida Foreman uh, died at age 87 in June. My friend Susan Koppelman at 84 died in December. People in their 80s don't think about their future. They don't wonder what they will be when they grow up. And that's how it is. No one has any time to grow up. Um, Anti-Semitism. Might as well make a few comments. Earlier in the week, I wanted to sit down and get some things out very quickly, and so I sat down and I started a little tape that's not for airing, and it was and it was titled, "Better Left Unsaid." Better left unsaid. Uh, we're living in a golden age of anti-Semitism, and it occurred to me that whenever nature rose up against man, the cry went out to kill the Jews. Many in the Jewish community think that we are on the eve of redemption. Across the world, Jewish communities are praying for the IDF, whose soldiers go out in the vanguard to defend our values of equality, liberty, and justice. The current government of Israel is the most extreme ultra-nationalist and racist in the country's history. Itmar Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich represent the legacy of Meir Kahane. They want to clear the land of non-Jews and clear the Jews of the non-believers and get on with building the third temple. They are vile and vicious, and in order to support Israel, the entire world Jewish community has fallen in line behind the Netanyahu government. It isn't easy living with the reality everywhere, in every direction, as far as my imagination takes me. Um, Instrumental values. When I began studying the Talmud, I learned the concept of studying lishma for its intrinsic value rather than for its instrumental value. Torah was not an instrument to be used to obtain a professorship, develop skills. It wasn't about sharpening one's mental skills, honing one's sense of logic. As I understood it, we were studying so that the universe might exist. If no one was studying the Torah, the universe would cease to exist. After several false starts trying to read Proust, I came upon a suggestion. One must surrender to Proust. You must decide that you will start, and no matter what, you will not stop until you have read the entire work. And that got to me. Uh, After the initial stage, um, I had been reading Proust for about a year, uh, and every morning and posting on Facebook long quotes. Looking back, I realized that reading Proust reorganized my brain. You surrender to him. You let him take over the rhythms of your thinking. The reason that I had failed the first few times was rebellion against the demands on your consciousness that he imposed. Proust is not trying to win an argument, and he isn't trying to convince you of anything. The value of the work is in the reading. After the first 1,000 pages, you realize how much he has slowed down your thinking, especially when you realize that he is sitting in a cafe and it was the taste of the mandolin that sparked the 1,000 pages of memory. He hasn't moved, and the memory of decades has unfolded itself in a moment outside of time. He is not accomplishing anything. Our society has surrendered entirely to the instrumentalists. In education, achievement always needed to be measured. My students were like widgets, and I was supposed to add something of value to the widget. And I was supposed to document what the widget lacked when it came into the class and how I left the widget with skills that it needed. Moreover, I had to prove I had instrumentally improved my widgets. Promotion and merit were entirely based on instrumental achievements. Nothing else was ever mentioned in evaluations. In the Volozhin yeshiva, students did not need to achieve anything. A student might be expelled for playing cards or wasting time, but not for being slow. There were no tests. No one was graded. Measuring achievement was not important. All that was required was effort. The act of studying was counted, not any achievement or skills that you arose from the study. My life has almost entirely focused now on non-instrumental values. I don't want to achieve anything any longer. I just want to start each day with the Talmud and Tefillah, and I'm not preparing for anything. I'm just doing my part to sustain the universe. So with that, I will leave you, and you be well and take care of yourself. Keep your head above water, and God willing, I'll be back in 2 weeks with another edition of More Bad News.